Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how to create lighting just like this. I've done it a couple different times, but I found a new way where you can use images so you can get that photorealistic. You know, this would be kind of tough to create procedurally, this kind of lighting pattern, but also how to get it to animate because it is an image. You could use videos as your kind of gobos, but the videos can only go so far and there's only so many options. In this case, you can see we're kind of animating it. See if I can do it a little bit more slowly. So this is kind of a tree, kind of, you know, your more common larger movement in a tree. And you can also depict like, you know, how much you can animate this. It looks more like water when you do that. So you got to be more subtle with it. But I'm going to show you guys how you can create this system. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go here. I'm not going to save. Let's do this very simply. I'm going to get a plane, scale that up, and then let's just go ahead and get in an object. Just to have some fun, you can place this in the scene and we'll bring this up. And my cat chooses now to have the zoomies while I'm recording. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna go to the cycles view and we're gonna need an area light to do this. So go ahead, Shift A, get an area light, bring it up, and that's all we need to do. And let's hop straight into the shader editor. I'm gonna click on the cycles view and let's go ahead and click on use nodes. This is our system. So what I did was I went over to Pexels, right here, P-E-X-L-E-S, and I typed in tree branches, and you can just go ahead and pick, you know, honestly, you don't even have to use tree branches. You can use anything. So I went and picked one. I picked one that was, you know, easy to work with. Your color ramp can really just kind of do anything. You can pick this, but one with a good amount of contrast, maybe this. Now I'm trying to scroll down to find mine. Let's just go back to the top. So I picked one that was kind of in this family of photos. And then it'll give you more like it, which is great. So I picked one similar to this. But go ahead and pick whatever image you want. Now this process works really the best with natural looking things like leaves, branches, and flowers because what we're going to use to animate it more caters itself to those movements. So context is sometimes quite important. So make sure you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled. Comes with Blender by default. I'm going to hit Control T on this emission node. And then we're going to use the object coordinate here. Click Open. I'm going to click Desktop. And I'm just going to go ahead and find my image. Hopefully I don't scroll too fast and miss it because that'd be annoying. I did. There it is. Okay. So now we have it. But of course, we need to go ahead and go over here in the area light. Make sure you have it selected. Go to the little green bulb and bring your spread to 0. Now you're going to see that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is bring my size up and my power up as well. So now you have this, but it's just duplicating and it looks like old, terrible wallpaper. So make sure you are using the object coordinate. We're actually going to use the area light itself as an object because here's what's going to happen. If you move the light around, because you're going to need to at some point to reposition, see how those objects are staying put? That is a problem. So if you use the area light as your mapping, now it's working properly. That's what we want. So it's all duplicated. You could use single, you could turn off repeat, but for me, I just found it easier just to click and drag in the mapping and scale it up and then use your X and Y location to get it to fit. I found this just to be a little bit less of a headache, but whatever works with you. If you understand mapping, then that's going to be better for you. Now to get it to not look like you're actually casting an image, because this looks pretty ugly and not natural, right over here in the area light, you'll turn on your spread, and that's going to make it look, you know, a bit more real. All right, so now let's just go ahead and do one more thing to make this, you know, a tad bit easier to work with. So I'm just going to make sure that this is fitting in there properly. And then in my case, looks like, there we go. So what we're going to do is we could just keep it as a square, but if you want to have this more like a tool and be able to use it, kind of swap things in and out, what I found, which is fun, is get a mix node, set it to color, bring it here, and then put that on B, bring this to black, and then get a color ramp. Plug that into the factor, get in a gradient node and set the gradient node to spherical, plug that in, and then hit Control T, get a new mapping setup, use the object coordinate and select the area light. And so now all you have to do is play with the scale on the mapping, and you now have a round area light, so you can swap out images. Like if I wanted to, just for the fun of it, let's just use this. Now you can swap out images just that easily, use it as a tool. All right, so now what we can do is I'm gonna hit G and position this more like it's a sunlight, and then you can where's it at? Bring up my size. You can hit S on the area light and kind of make it envelop the whole scene if you want. And then of course, bringing up that power to maybe 3,000, maybe 10,000. Cool. All right. Now we have that. You can bring that spread up to make it look more natural. Now we can go ahead and animate this. How do you add motion to these images? How is that possible? That's with a noise texture. In fact, I'm going to bring my spread to 0 so we can see a little bit more obviously. Let's get in a noise texture and plug it right between the texture coordinate and the mapping of this image. And that's going to make it go insane. I'm going to bring my roughness down to 0 and my detail down to 0. And then we're going to get in a mix node. Bring it over here to color, plug it in, and then plug the object coordinate to the B. What that's going to do is if you bring your factor to the right, it's going to bring the original. If you bring it to the left, it's going to be all noise texture. So what I can do is I can bring it in and bring my scale to like 0.3. And we go to 4D. And the 4D is going to allow that movement. Now this is a bit of a behind the curtain situation. If you bring your spread in, and then you just bring your factor in a little bit to distort it, you now have a tree waving in the wind at, you know, a bit of more of a natural way that a tree would kind of wave in and out. That's the whole concept. And just to kind of cap it off for you, if you want to have fun. Now this is, you know, not realistic lighting. So what you can do is go to the world settings and go to the sky texture, bring your sun intensity to 0, bring your strength down a little bit to something like this. And then your light color is depicted by the white node of the color ramp. And so what I like to do is to click on the white portion and just color grab and then bring it up there. So now we have more of a sky looking light, and then maybe 20,000, 30,000 on the light. And now we have a bit more of a realistic looking lighting situation. You can go back to the world brightness and bring the strength up a little bit. But that is how you do it. And again, bring your W. You can't really see it, but it's animating. It's kind of noisy. And then if you want to turn this into something that you can easily use, you don't have to go hopping back and forth to the node editor. What you can do is just highlight all the way to here, hit Control G. See this group input right here? Just plug it into the W and plug it into the factor, hit Tab. And then now if you go back to layout, you can see everything. We can look at our object here. If you go here to the light, go down here to nodes. Now you have access to that W, and you also have access to the level of distortion as well. So you can kind of turn it into a tool that you can swap images in and out of, which is awesome. And that is the tutorial. It's super useful. I'm sure you can hear my cat jingling over there, so hopefully that's not annoying. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next tutorial.